And our comic book friends, I'm Travis.
And I'm the disembodied voice.
And this is...
No Capes.
That's right, this is for the last week of June 28th, I believe. We're going to talk some non-superhero comics, starting out with a comic has to do with superheroes.
Well, you know.
Because, I don't know how to organize my comics or something. Anyway, Astro City, issue number 45.
And we're still following the metamorphosis of the cultural music-related superhero.
Yeah, Glidhex or something like that is what they go by in this. I say they because they seem to be gender fluid in this issue. I want to say it's Glamorex. Glamorex. Yep. In the 70s, right?
Yes. And I can see where they're headed, but we don't know what happened next.
You can see where they're headed. Where are they headed?
They're headed towards punk rock.
So you think that's what at the end? Because we had a conversation on Comic Book Roundtable about the end of this, because they hint at the fact that basically this character's been around throughout time. We find out that they were was it Jazz Baby? Whatever it was. There's
Cakewalk,
Jazz Baby, all these different characters that we've seen in the comic throughout times, different eras, kind of whatever the new hip music kind of thing is, they are a entity that is of that and a superhero kind of thing. They disappear and then reappear as this other thing. So this issue has to do with them kind of discovering that and them kind of watching the Phoenix rise as this new version appears.
Right, and somebody's throwing this big party.
Right. And while this is all happening, we get kind of hints that that they can feel the angriness and all that sort of stuff and whatnot. And at the end of this, they do change. They get like X's across their eyes and start cursing and being really angry and whatnot. So is that it for sure, or is it something worse because of this whole party thing that's turned it into something else?
I don't know whether they're just turning into a punk rock thing, or they would have been left to their own thing, or turned into a punk rock thing. But as they are changing, they're going from that, glam rock Studio 54-esque, everything's a big party, everything's a big happening, to the disenfranchised feeling that is punk. And I think that if there is a problem, it is, yes, because whatever punk rock feelings or entity is coming over this being right now is going to feel really disgusted by this whole voyeuristic party thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Versus Glamorex was like, yeah, center of attention, that's me.
Right.
Because it's just a totally different vibe. And so things might go wrong because of that. But I do believe that punk was the next incarnation where they were going. Because it's, the end of that era.
Even though they were both happening at the same time, really.
Yes, they were technically.
Yeah.
But for the intents and purposes of this book.
Okay. So yeah, I'll be curious to see what is next. Yeah. And of course I love the purple guy that is telling the story. His blatant break of the fourth wall, because he literally is having a conversation with us. They talk about comics. They talk about what they're going to do in this comic versus what those other people do in their comics.
Yes,
all that kind of stuff is just kind of fun.
And and wanting to keep our attention and being annoyed that we went off on those tangents with those other subjects.
Right.
So yeah, that was. But I have really liked this particular run of Astro City that we're reading. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there for a while, I had gotten it in singles, and then I quit getting the singles because it just felt like kind of. And I thought, well, maybe I'll pick it up in trades or whatever, and then didn't really get around to that, and started picking this back up because it's part of a Vertigo deal of how I order my comics. So it was cheap, so there was no reason to not get it at 50% off, kind of thing. So yeah, and it has been since we've picked it back up. It's
really
been
enjoyable.
Yeah, been really enjoyable in single issues for sure. Next up, we have a Bank Shot. This is issue 1 of 5 from Dark Horse Comics. I picked it up because it's Alex DeCampi. I like Alex DeCampi. She writes No Mercy and Mayday, just some of the current stuff that she's been working on and whatnot. And I'm a fan of Crisscross as far as his art goes. I know him for doing different superhero work and whatnot in the past. So I thought, yeah, I'll give this a shot. Two creators I'm interested in. So
Right.
not really knowing exactly what it was about per se, but picked up anyway. What do you think?
I want you to talk about it first.
So you're not going to commit to having an opinion
I want
one
you
way
to
or the
talk
other.
about it first.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it's all action. I mean, and there's the whole fog of war thing. I guess I don't need to know which character's doing what at some point because bombs are going off all over the place. My real problem is in this book with it largely is at the very beginning you opened up and inside the cover it has a blurb of what the book is about. And nothing in this book is in that blurb. In that blurb, it's like, is he a terrorist? Is he Robin Hood? Kind of thing. What's he going to be like when he's really pushed to the edge of blah, blah, blah? Kind of thing. Okay, is that supposed to be the premise? I didn't get much of that.
I feel
because
that's the pitch, and then
right,
this is the book.
Right, which the first issue doesn't provide anything really. I mean, we get, kind of a, the guy clearly gets one over on the FBI people, beats them up or threatens to beat them up in front of their families and all kinds of stuff like that. Whatever. Then we keep getting this flashback to, I'm assuming the origin of our main dude, whose name really isn't Augustus King or whatever that is that he's calling himself at this point. But like it's set in Afghanistan, Iraqi, some third world country where the U.S. military has established a dictator. Now they need to take that dictator out. They attempt to take the dictator out, and then they get fragged themselves, kind of a thing. And so, but then we get this kind of, him again in the current times, having some sort of conversation with some Russian equivalent to a KGB agent about Ukraine because they can't go to Ukraine because someone's stuck there, and I don't know. It felt like the very beginning of an action movie, and I want something different from my comic books than reading an action movie.
The whole part about the Dutchman, that was the only part that was even interesting to me.
The Dutchman. Oh, the guy who's dressed like a
yeah, they think they're saving like some other kind of not necessarily people. But they're trying to get.
They're dressed like UN. They're dressed like UN peacekeepers,
right,
but they've got a truck full of treasure.
Exactly, and I think that is where our neo-terrorist, perhaps, or Robin Hood, whatever.
But they try killing him at the end. They're shooting at him at the end of it as he's running away.
He shoots all of his
and he gets shot.
buddies, and then the Dutchman kind of shoots all of.
No, he shoots one guy.
Okay.
He shoots one guy, the guy who can't drive a clutch and is all mouthy.
But
they
then
shoot
at the
that
end,
guy.
when they meet the other people,
No, then
what is he doing then?
Then they're all standing there, and he gives the guy
he
gives the guy a chance to run away. He gives our main character a chance to run away, and they shoot at him. They don't shoot each other. The only person that they cap is that one guy that they don't like.
Right.
And then the rest of them starts to run. They give him a chance to run, and the rest of them take shots at him as he's running away, and he takes one in the back. And that's the end. But he didn't shoot everybody. He just shot that one guy, because that one guy was like an arrogant, mouthy dude.
Anyway, the only part that I found remotely interesting is that would be a disillusioning, that would be a source of disillusionment.
I don't know. It's already a source of disillusionment. The fact is that they put in this guy, this dictator. Yeah. He's no better than a colonel, and then they're taking him out. Right, so I don't know. That's pretty.
Anyway, I didn't.
Man, it was horrible or anything. It's not my thing at all.
It doesn't have the things that I liked about Mercy in it.
No Mercy?
No Mercy, yeah. There's no Mercy in Mercy. No Mercy. So definitely shouldn't be called Mercy because
it's called No Mercy.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry I messed it up. But.
Or Mayday.
Yes.
Right. To me, so far, it didn't have the smart part of Alex DeCampi in it. It has the action part, but I don't want to read just action.
No, I did not particularly love it.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about it?
No.
Commit to something about it now?
The reason why, seriously, I loved it so much that I had to have you talk about it so I could remember which one it was.
Because you fell asleep reading it 2 or 3 times?
No, I didn't fall asleep, but I could have.
So next up we have Rebels. These Free and Independent States, issue number 4. I believe this is going to be 8 issues. But this arc story, I think, ends at 5. And then there's 3 issues of I don't know what. It's that they're going to write and whatnot.
Okay. Well, obviously, young John, not saying it anymore, has committed himself 100% to the Constitution. Not the document.
The boat.
The boat.
The original. The original Constitution. Mm-hmm. Because he made it.
Right, because he made it, he designed it, he did everything to it, and he wanted to sail in it one way, and they wouldn't let him, so he joined the military so he could sail. And in this, things did not go well for him.
Yeah, they go after a British ship, and
they're finally allowed to shoot at him.
and they do take that ship down, but they take heavy casualties in the process. Their officer gets killed. The second in command won't take the sword, won't take the command, so he just does. And unfortunately, like the British Navy, the American Navy is just as pompous and full of themselves, and they have all these rules and regulations, and heaven forbid somebody else take charge of whatever it was.
Even in the heat of war.
Right. It does not matter. Shame on him. So despite him having made this incredible ship that got shot and did not go down.
Yeah, when the British guy
surrendered,
he asked, "What did you make the hull out of? Did you make it out of metal? What the heck is that?" Yeah. And he explains it's New England
oak.
Yeah.
It's oak and white ash is what it is. Yeah, right.
And so, obviously he knows how to make
master
a boat,
craftsman.
And he knows how to get things done.
Right.
But unfortunately he got things done in a way that's not.
Yeah, so he is being hauled off. He is being hauled off as a traitor, and probably hang or something like that if he's potentially.
And so he finally writes to the girl.
The girl who's been writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other thing about John is John is the son of a Revolutionary War hero,
yes.
which the first volume of Rebels was written about him, mostly about him, and he's a bit autistic. He's a bit Asperger.
See, that's what I think too. Is
yeah.
He's on the spectrum.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Because they're talking about how he doesn't understand people.
He just doesn't relate with people.
Boats.
Even as a kid, he's not interested in anything except for boats. I mean, if they showed him pictures of boats, he could tell you everything about the boats, what their purpose was and whatnot. He would run off the coastline. They live in Connecticut. He'd run off the coastline so he could see the boats going by and whatnot. So he's kind of he's not an idiot savant, but he is somewhere on that spectrum of that type of stuff where he is just superior at the boats and boat craftsmanship and socially not
as good.
No, not at all.
He could,
other than he has respect for America, the actual Constitution, having fought for independence, and what it means to be, what it means to protect your country and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, and he has a lot of respect for his African American friend who is a freed slave because he chose to fight and therefore was freed. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that everybody else has as much respect for him, and so I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah, and he's
not a bad person,
right? And kind of through these issues, he's been protected in a way because of his genius by another boatman who is also an officer, and he's the officer that gets killed in this issue. And so once he's dead, there's nobody to vouch for him anymore. No officers to vouch for his.
Nobody that really understands him the way that this officer did.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed this story. Andrew Moody's art, I always think is just amazing. I loved it in the last one. Really enjoyed it in this one.
And it definitely fits the era. He is painting it. I'm not painting, but I'm doing whatever he does.
Well, his line work and inking is really
it fits the era. I mean, I'm sure that if he was drawing something from another time or from the future or whatever, it would as well. But it feels. Like some of it could be woodcuts. I mean, it's not.
Right. It definitely.
It feels like the era, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and he draws ships really well. I mean, because he started out, like I said, the first volume of this is literally the Revolutionary War. So it's Americans hiding in bushes and whatnot, shooting at redcoats stomping around and that sort of thing, and then moving cannons around. Yeah, this whole thing is fiction loosely based around the era of the time.
It's historical fiction.
Right. So, Rebels is historical fiction. Some of the places and timing and events have been compromised or altered to fit the story. So, but I really like it. I really enjoy it.
I have nothing bad to say about this book at all. I think it's been a solid book. This run, it was a solid book in its first run. I'm always happy to see it.
Yeah. Same here. And for an Italian guy, the guy does an awesome job of American stuff. Because he's Italian. I mean, he lives in Italy. So I think he's Old West obsessed though, that era of stuff too. kind of thing. Anything I've said on Twitter anyway. Anyway, next we're going to talk Shudder issue number 29, which I am not sure if issue 29 is next issue is the last issue or if there's still 2 issues, because I thought it was going to end at 31. But with this, it made it sound like next issue is the last issue, didn't it?
This feels like a resolution for everybody but one person. So.
Well, a couple people. But
yeah. So.
Whew, this issue. So this issue spends a lot of time finishing the stories of all of our cast of characters, pretty much. With the exception of some new people who were just introduced. And I think Kate. Do we get a full on Kate?
No, I don't think.
Well,
kind of.
No. So this isn't Kate. This is another Kate relative of our main character. But like I said, it's this timelines of all these different characters. Christopher, her brother, we get a timeline of him. We get a timeline of Catechus, the clock robot cat that gets his head removed and ends up being, a monster by the end of the thing.
So unfortunate.
So we get all these timelines, and it's told like, today, next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 years from now, 15 years from now, 30 years from now, for some of these characters, depending on how long they've last, because some of them die of cancer, some of them get executed. There's a whole list of different things. But what's interesting is there is definitely like a moment that's in all, because these people all kind of related to each other or friends of each other.
Right.
There is a moment in time in the future that they all go to. There's a wedding. Mm-hmm. So you get to see all these different people, if they survive long enough to make it to the wedding, sitting in different places. So you're seeing the wedding, the same vows from different positions, which is really fun.
It is pretty cool.
Artistically and whatnot. I thought that was really interesting and whatnot. And
that too.
And to me, this is kind of a cool way to give us the time to know what happened to these people. Because, this book could easily end and left all the secondary characters without answers to them. Sure. And whatever this ending ends up being, it would leave us going, oh man, I wonder what happened with all those people. Well, now we know. Because most of these people, we literally get to see them to the grave.
Exactly.
Some of them, grow super old to the grave. And like I said, some of them end up with cancer and die very early on. Some of them live great lives, find new girlfriends, and, happy ever after kind of thing. So you get the whole gambit of all that. And then towards the end, we get Kate, who we find out at the beginning of the book is pregnant. She gets pregnant with a detective, our main character. And then we see her give birth, and she's raising this child. And they kind of go through some of the same adventure kind of stuff that her and her father did.
Exactly.
Except for she's there all the time. She doesn't just disappear. And we get up to this point.
Yeah.
Which we don't know exactly what's happening.
That's the last picture in the book.
Right, because those who don't really know the full story, the Red Mask is of the Prospero people, and they're like, they kind of live in a pocket dimension, and they have been controlling reality for, I don't know, hundreds of years or whatever.
And Kate's mother was.
And a
leader in the Prospero people.
And they overthrew them. And the whole idea was they're going to overthrow them, shut them down, and just let reality run whatever its course is. That may mean that in 2 days, all of reality falls apart, but they don't care. Whatever the consequences are going to be, it just needs to let it run its course instead of letting these people continue to manipulate it. Yeah. So how we end up with the masked-faced daughter, we don't know.
Creepy.
So I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, you read the back matter in this, and it feels like there's one more issue. But I could have sworn there were 2 more issues, so I don't know exactly what. But I'm curious to see how it all pans out and whatnot.
Too.
And then I'm thinking, I want to go back at some point, not immediately, but go back and get all 30 plus issues and just read them straight.
That would be great.
Just to, because I'm sure there's stuff that happened years ago that
we missed, or affects this, or yes, right. Because I know they're because it's a very long story arc.
Yeah.
So
this one's 17 issues. This arc is 17 issues. So that trade is going to be 17 issues thick.
Oh, wow.
So people who are trade waiting on this book are going to be waiting almost 2 years to get the final on it. Yeah. I sort of like it. It's really interesting. Its own kind of a weird thing. Quite honestly, shocked it's gone 30 plus issues just because it is so off. Do you know what I mean? Off the beaten path as far as things go.
And not something that's that easy to jump on.
Well, and not flashy, and no. You start at the beginning. There's no place to jump on in between. It's not flash. Like some of the other books that have this kind of length on them, like Wicked and Divine. I feel like Wicked and Divine has a bit of flash and panache that this kind of thing doesn't have. They're both odd, but this is, I don't know, a different kind of rooted odd
no.
than that,
Wicked and
than
Divine
high
puts
fashion.
on its glitter makeup and
Sure.
parties all night occasionally, and Shutter never has.
Yeah.
And but it's still just really cool.
Yeah, well, like the butler. His final was
poor
horrible.
guy.
Horrible. Because he's missing a body. During the war, he loses his body. So he's talking about getting a new body, and then his head gets lost, literally in the backyard.
Yeah, but it looks
And overgrown
like young Ms. Prospero.
Yeah, well, we'll see if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But,
Yeah.
But, I mean, but we're talking...
Decades.
Yeah,
Decades, like
20 years of him sitting in the backyard with, plants growing through and whatnot, going, hey, everybody, that's
Yeah, poor
horrible.
guy.
Yeah, good stuff, though. All right, next up we are on to Saucer State, issue number 2.
Glad to see this book
Get
back.
this story, the ending that we should have gotten in the
Vertigo.
Vertigo series, so...
Yeah. But there aren't any bunnies.
We passed the bunnies. We passed the bunnies in another one, though. This cover
Like
reminds me of the
bunnies.
bunny cover, though, just because of this kind of ant-viewed, green-toned
Yeah.
kind of whatnot.
Well, the aliens are coming. That's pretty much and how we're going to react to it is pretty much how this book goes.
Yeah, this issue, basically, the aliens are there. We figure out they've got a year before they're actually supposedly going to be here. So there's... I love this issue because it has to do with all the politics that are involved with that. What we do as the United States, what do people do, what do the religious people do,
Yes.
all the different kinds of answers to all that kind of stuff and whatnot. And politically we get into the conversation of, okay, the president has been abducted multiple times. Should she admit to that now or not? So there's some cool conversations
Right.
about that whole part of it that I really enjoyed. Of course, then there's the kind of bomb at the end of the issue.
Yeah, that should be interesting to find out what happens.
So the gray aliens, they call them the gray men, because it's that stereotypical small, little, big-headed, black-eyed aliens, abduct her again, it seems, and go, oh yeah, here's your alien baby that you had a long time ago, but we took from you without you really knowing about it. So the president of the United States suddenly has the alien
for me,
baby.
it felt like a dream.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's real or not.
And then
but
not that
all
they
the
abducted
abduction,
her, but
but
that
all
they
the
visited her.
but all the abduction, visiting type things all
Yeah, I
come
know.
across
That
as a
one
dream
feels
kind of
really
thing.
dreamlike to me.
The other part that I thought was really interesting is the one guy she makes a special cabinet of inside people, and one of the funny things is, of course, her ex-husband is on the inside cabinet because he's kind of experienced all this stuff with her, but he's got his own issues going on with this whole. He remembers having seen fairies when he was really young, and that was a weird part of the Vertigo storyline. It felt like it kind of jumped the shark there at that point or something like that. But they reintroduced it
they're
here.
back.
They're back.
And they gave him a cupcake.
They gave him a cupcake because he's in a traffic jam.
Real
Yeah.
cupcake.
Because he was waiting in a traffic jam, so they gave him a cupcake for something to eat and whatnot. Well, so they're like...
The cupcake is supposed to be like,
comes
Alice's
in,
mushroom type cupcake.
He comes in and says that he's been visited again, and of course they're all dealing with this fact that aliens are reality. They all knew aliens were reality, but now everyone knows that aliens is a reality. So they're trying to come to adjust to that, and he comes into the White House and says that the fairies visited him again, and they all just kind of look at each other sideways and goes, okay, yeah, well, whatever. And they kind of ignore him almost. It's like, maybe we need to get him a new tinfoil hat because there was in the first series of it, they had kind of a laser that they could project onto you and make you think you're seeing stuff.
Microwave type technology.
So they kind of joke about giving him a tinfoil hat. So that part was funny. But the other part is interesting is in her group, there's a skeptic. And that skeptic is like, okay, so I can't be skeptical about whether there's aliens or not anymore. Because clearly we've just identified that they're here. But I want to know what's going on, because the gray guys have been here for years. I mean, decades. We've got records. We've got records of them being abducted. Well, at least certainly within the last 2 or 3 years of her running her campaign, we know for sure that she's been abducted.
Mm-hmm.
So if they've been here all this time, why are they suddenly making this big show that they're coming, and it's going to take them a year to get here? What's up with that?
Yeah, and maybe it's somebody else.
Exactly.
So that should
Other
be interesting.
aliens.
Yeah.
Right? So...
So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I thought it was funny just because of all
I'm curious
the...
as to what's going to happen if what's-his-name eats his cupcake, too.
Right.
It's a cute little cupcake.
Yeah, I mean, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's just kind of intense, most of it's in a room in the White House as they're discussing all this and, turning the television on and off kind of thing. There's some other stuff that goes on outside of that, but that's what most of it is, and I just think it's really interesting, just the whole discussion around, okay, if there were aliens, we suddenly had what would that mean for the world and everything and whatnot. So all really cool stuff.
And I like the fact that they tell the president also, that she needs to tell the military people and all of the upper people, Pentagon type people, so that they hand over any stuff they have that they haven't told her about yet.
Right,
too.
but to not tell anybody outside of that, because there was a debate on whether or not she should go to the public and say this happened to me.
Right, exactly.
And they're like, no, you better not do that, because look at all the crazy people are out there who are saying, I mean, there's like a person in Tennessee saying, hey, come eat at my place because they show up every day. And
Yeah.
you know, there's all kinds of Looney-Toony kind of stuff. And the media is taking all of it as being truth. And it's going to take a year for the aliens to get here before we find out what's true and not true. You don't want to be part of that circus.
Exactly.
So, interesting stuff. Okay, next up we have Lucifer, issue number 19.
Another arc resolution.
The end of an arc.
Yep.
The end of an arc. The death of God. And the replacement of God.
The death of God, not really. Some kind of...
Oh, well, he's dead, but now he's chopped up in lots of little pieces. And so he's not dead, but he's dispatched well enough.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that is not...
The presence.
That is not the God that
The
they started
presence.
out with.
Well, no. That God got killed or went on vacation or we don't know exactly what, and was replaced with this big giant ball of monstrous hate.
Black gross, yeah. Yeah, not so good.
So Lucifer has some wild plan that, of course, we don't know about, and it all works out, and they get rid of the God, and God is replaced by, we're not sure who, because at the end of it, all we get is a word bubble saying, they literally play guess the number to decide which of this group that's been helping Lucifer is going to be the God. There's two girls. One of the girls is the girl who had the jar with the demon in it for a long time. Her friend that she found, who's kind of a witchy power person, her mom. There's an individual woman who has some connection to the supernatural. I'm not sure exactly how, but she's the one that finds Paul, the talking baby, and I think that was it of the people for sure that potentially could be God. But they're left to pick a number, and one of them picks it, and that's who's going to be God. They're going to make everybody else be God along with them, but
we don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know if that story will get picked up or if that's going to even matter at this point as they move forward, because he's got his club back. Mazakai is going to open her own club supposedly, so that'll be fun. Well, that'll be fun just because they are clearly lovers. They clearly care deeply about each other in their weird demon sort of way, and so it's gonna be it'll be fun to see him. Have a relationship thing and what they're going to do for a story from now. Because this 19 issues, really, even though we changed writers, really has mostly been about this story, about Lucifer's bastard son rising up to try and take him out, and while that's happening in hell, in heaven, the presence, of course, got wiped out by something and was replaced with this monstrous god kind of thing. And all this is ended.
So yeah, I guess it'll be...
I mean, it's at a point where the book can just be done and not be anymore. And
sure.
I'm pretty sure it's still around, though.
Cool.
Yeah, I like the art. I mean, that's a big thing. Reason I enjoy the book a lot. I like.
The art is very good.
I like Gabrett's art. Gabrett used to do Loki. It's the last thing that we were reading,
cool.
and I just really enjoy his style. Anything you wanna?
No, I think we kind of covered it. I enjoyed the whole story, and I liked
19 issues of kind of all one plot, but did not feel long and drawn out,
yes,
like when we talked.
Hellblazer is doing right now.
Right, in the superhero books we talked about.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true.
Exactly.
And it had enough fun stuff kind of on the side while he was bringing his big thing together.
Right.
I mean, the whole demon thing was a little small subplot that went on for a long time. And,
right.
And that was interesting, and then the fact that
it was really to introduce
separated siblings.
Yeah, it was really to introduce other players. I mean, it was a cool way of doing that. It was a cool way of getting those other secondary characters into the.
So yeah, it was enjoyable all the way through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Next up, we're going to talk Aftershocks comics. We're going to talk Eleanor and the Egret, issue number 3.
And I did not read issue number 2. I skimmed it because I didn't like issue number 1 that much.
Yeah, I didn't care for that much either.
And then I read this one and I liked it better. And you think that I liked it better because it was so short.
It was super short. I mean, I didn't count the pages, but I swear it was like half a comic. It's super short.
And it had a lot more action with the egret and the worm and the Babadook wannabe guy from the picture.
Yeah. But how?
Yeah, I still don't necessarily care about
Yeah,
these characters,
I don't.
and
Not
I
at all.
should, and we're 3 in. So,
Not
yeah.
at all. I mean, it's dropped. I mean, we're just finishing out what's here.
Sure.
I had time, so I did read this issue because it went to the bottom of the pile. Last thing I was going to read, basically, it and Blue Beetle. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, I mean, I wanted the Sam Keith art to be cool. There are elements of it that are cool and elements that are, okay. You know, John Layman does write some good stuff. His Chew is fun. I don't know. I can't get it. I just really can't get into this, and I should because it has to do with art theft. It's got all this kind of things I like. Not necessarily the theft of art, but I mean,
Right.
just that whole kinds
The concept.
those kinds of things I like, and it just not really.
I think maybe it's unfortunate that we started reading this art-related comic after having read The Electric Sublime, which is a completely different, entirely different thing.
Sure.
But it's a comic about art that had more art in it,
Yeah.
and was just such a I can't think of a non-obscene word, so
Yeah, I just don't know.
to describe it. I mean,
Fighting
mind
off a sneeze.
followed by the F word. And so this it is quaint and it's kind of cute, but it's not doing it for me. And I don't need everything to be about psychopaths going into art. I
Right.
I don't know. I thought
Yeah.
it would be
I don't-
more of a buddy comedy with
Yeah, I don't know.
and more, I don't know.
Exactly.
The
That's
cover, just the original cover, looked like it was going to be kind of like this Victorian era,
Right.
you know, I don't know. Friendship between a bird and a lady, and then,
yeah. Nobody is really that entrancing
No.
or charming or anything else about them that makes me really want to keep reading it. Clearly, and so that's
Yeah.
why we're not. It just it doesn't quite capture. I don't know, whatever. And I don't you know. I mean, I don't want to compare it with Electric Sublime because they are kind of different things other than it has to do with
they're
art.
completely incomparable. I'm just saying
Right.
that we read 2 consecutive comic book series that had to do with art in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. And
Okay.
art ops, and then this.
Right.
And so now we're reading another
Art
thing
ups too, right?
that has to do with art.
And
but
I
there's-
liked all of those.
Me too. But there's not enough art in it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time
So I don't
that
think
the art has actually
well,
done anything.
art isn't that important of a thing, other than it's what they're taking, and the bird eats it for whatever reason.
Yeah, that
which
part
we're
I
not
think is
getting.
kind of interesting.
And we get this little brief piece of, you know, they used to live at this house and they did these things, and then suddenly they
Yeah,
didn't.
that part was interesting, but it had nothing to
So
do
that was
with
2 pages.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with anything else that we know of. So that
Right.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we needed to see the house in issue 1 maybe, and there's just not enough to pull me in. I feel like we needed a better setup for the story.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, so that's not
it's
bad.
meandering in a way that doesn't that entertaining. So next up we have Back after its hiatus
Yay!
because of the creators went and did Wonder Woman because it was their dream gig that they've been talking about for like 10 years wanting to do. So they stopped this book long enough to go do that for a while. We are back with Black Magic, and this is issue number 6. So it's been gone a year.
Yeah, we'll miss you from Wonder Woman, but yay! Because this is a book that I really liked the first time.
Uh-huh.
And this time we're going into her history. We're finding out our main character,
Rose, yeah.
Rose's,
Not roses.
Rose, apostrophe,
Okay.
S.
Okay.
Her backstory. We're finding out about her kind of initiation into the world of magic, where she meets her previous selves and what happened with that.
Right, yeah. It's like a rite of passage. She turns 13, and so therefore she is of the age that you basically get dunked in the magic pool out in the forest, and you get reacquainted with all of your family's past lives.
And it has a baptismal feeling
Right.
to it.
Oh, it definitely does. It's really cool. She's excited about it. I think it's really interesting. They set up this thing.
I'm a
She's
little nervous.
right, but she asks Mom as they're driving out to this place, Mom, what's it like? Because of course they've all experienced it. And she's like, well, it's like if you only saw in black and white, and somebody described colors to you, and you went, okay, and then you actually saw, honest to God, a rainbow, even though all you can see is black and white. Normally, you see a rainbow.
Right.
That's what it feels like. Which is great. It's a great descriptor because
Yes,
the book
and
is
initially
because the
when she
book
got
is mostly black and white. It's kind of
Exactly.
black and white, sepia tone grays kind of thing and whatnot, with occasional splatterings of colors in places, which is perfect for this episode, this issue, because they describe that, and she goes through this ritual. She dunks under the water. There's all these bubbles around her. And she starts seeing her past lives, and as past lives are going by, it's more vividly red and colors, and then her eyes are these gorgeous blue eyes. This brief pop of color before it goes back to the stuff, and of course it was a most horrible experience, because the Black family is one of the longest lineages of
Yeah,
witches,
very old,
and
and so-
also they are also the ones who have been the most persecuted.
So,
So she sees all these
many,
horrible people
many
being
burnings and killings,
murders
and it's funny because initially when she first starts to see the little bubbles, there's this recognition and this kind of happy.
Yeah.
Oh, there they
I've seen
are."
it all.
And then she's,
nightmare.
Yeah, screaming and
Yeah.
really unhappy and
Yeah.
needs to be pulled out. And then after that, she goes into a really
Yeah, she does not.
deep funk, deep depression.
Yeah. So I mean, so here's your for anybody who has not reading this comic, I don't know why you're not, but so here's here's some of the black and white. There's a little bit of color in the flame, just a hint of yellows in it, but the black and white is she's climbing into that pool, and then she's there, she's holding her breath, and she starts to get the recognition, the color bubbles start to, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there. And like I said, you get this one moment right there where their face is almost colored in these brilliant blue eyes, and then she's screaming because she wants out because of all the horrible stuff that she saw. And yeah, it wrecks her.
Yep.
So far in the book, they quickly show a two-panel spread of her having problems at school, having problems with her friends, cutting the doll's hair, all that troubled kid kind of thing. And mom's worried about it because she's not adjusting. It's been 3 months, and it's still not working out. And mom keeps telling her, Ro will be okay. He's going to work it out and whatnot. And mother is a doctor. She has to go off to to the hospital, and bad stuff happens, and that's the point where the book gets tied. The very last of it gets tied into the last arc, because there's a girl at the end of it, crazy purple, yellow eyes, lips sewn shut, dragging a doll, and she's there when
Mom dies.
mom gets in a car crash and seemingly dies, and so you get this. We've seen her in the last arc. She was part of this menagerie of kind of monster type people that was at the very end of the last arc.
Okay, good. I'm
So-
glad you remember that, because I didn't.
So otherwise, for me, the thing I thought was odd was, so this book's been gone for a year, and we come back to a book that tells us not about what's going on now, but all the stuff that happened in the past. Seems strange to me. I mean, I enjoyed this issue a lot, cool and all that stuff. It just seemed like a weird jump back into the story. And there's no comic next month. We have to wait a month, because this was June. There's no July.
Oh.
We're not going to get another issue until August.
Okay.
So it's kind of a one-shot, almost, in a sense. Kind of, out in the whatever. I mean, do you think this was an odd way to come back?
Well, I guess if you think of it as an issue 1 type situation,
Mhm.
yes. If you think of it as a issue whatever type situation, no.
Okay.
But
Because
I
if you're
completely understand where you're
Right.
coming from.
'Cause, I mean, if
you
you're
decided to collect it from the
from
now,
trades, or from
or
now,
just
or
from
if you read the
now,
trades, you get that first trade.
it
then
would be I guess confusing.
Then you're going to wait a year and a half or more to get the second trade, right? Because the first trade came out
Right.
way back. A year and a half, the second trade comes out, and the first 20 pages are. It's not presented as a flashback. It's just presented as we're back in time.
Yeah.
Suddenly the comics back in time.
I don't know.
No cop stuff. None of that.
No, nothing. Of
So-
that sort. And yeah, that's I guess a little weird, but I guess
Like I
just
said,
think
I'm not
that's what it
complaining.
was.
I
Yeah,
really like it.
understand.
I mean, I really like it, but to me, it seems like an odd kind of a.
I suppose you're right.
To go
but
back
like
to.
I said, I just took it as it was and just enjoyed reading it because
Sure.
I was just happy to see
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that writer and that artist together
Mhm.
again,
Mhm.
and that art style is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Excited to see where they go now, because we got all this stuff set up. You got the kind of like the weird monster kind of creepy group, and this girl with the funky eyes, and then we have that whole other sect that like is the Hammer, which they seem to be
Right.
the ones that are that have been killing black witches for time memoriam kind of thing, and then of course then there's her,
Right.
you know, being a witch, but also trying to be a policeman, and that whole stuff that happened towards the end of that whole thing, which is, you know, something really interesting to see how that all,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, squares away going with the next issue. I'm assuming we get back into modern time, and I would guess anyway. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we'll stay
One would
here
hope. I would think.
for the mom death, and I don't know.
Guess we'll
Yeah.
like so many things.
Right. Anyway, the last thing we're going to talk about this week is Saga chapter 24.
Still one of my favorite books.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's just so glorious.
I mean, as always, it kind of has this formula about it that I find amusing. You know, some people complain about it, but I find it amusing. Like the first page or the second page, you get some shock. You know, there's some what would be, you know, culturally or socially potentially vulgar in a way. You know, whether that's, you know, somebody sitting on the toilet, or it's, you know, whatever the case may be. You know, this one's got the abortion stuff at the very beginning of it again, I think. So there's like I said, so there's formula things about this that I just find amusing. It's like, okay, what's it going to be? It's going to be something. You know, what's it going to be? You know, we get these, you know, we have this kind of cowboy, literally Westerny people who don't like the abortionists and whatnot, and they're potentially hunting down Marco and Alana potentially. You know, they're hunting stuff down. I love Alana. Alana's like one of my favorite characters in comics now.
She really, really
and
is.
I love. I'm getting to the point now. I love Petro just as much.
Oh, I know. Petrichor is amazing.
Petrichor is just awesome on so many different levels.
She is so cool.
and
I'm really sorry I
it-
didn't get
and
to
it-
talk about last month.
And in this issue, I absolutely love it. I mean, she's so. There's some really funny moments. I mean, moments I'm literally laughing out loud as I'm reading the book. In this issue, you know, one of them's their point where, so Alana's got this. She suddenly can cast magic. She's from the science planet. Totally not. Shouldn't be happening. They think it's because from the dead fetus that's in her. So, and like that's all cool. She can cast magic, but then she's like barfing up, you know,
Lots of
black
disgusting,
ichor.
wicked
So it's like,
stuff.
okay, we gotta get this out.
Right,
Yes, they're gonna go
gotta get it
find.
done.
They're gonna go find the radical abortionist as opposed to the safe abortionist to go get this taken care of. That's gonna be their plan. And Petro's gonna stay and protect the ship. You know, they're kind of like there's some argument going on between them whether or not that's okay or not because Alana doesn't 100% trust her.
Right, not to run away.
About to run away.
But Petrichor is pretty devoted to Hazel too.
Yeah, and so all things seem to work out fine. And Marco's like, okay, so I'm going to give you this, and he's like working to get off his wedding ring. And Alana's like, what? You're going to give him your wedding band? And Petra's like, wait, you know, she's kind of like partially under her breath. She's like, wait, is this some sort of, you know, threesome? Is this some sort of throuple thing? Because I'm not totally opposed. I mean, it's just funny how she pauses and goes, I'm not totally opposed to that.
I know, which
Of course,
is funny because she
the ring actually is
obviously did not like Alana.
right at all. But
Yeah.
suddenly, massive respect for her because in their culture, carrying a dead fetus is some holy kind of thing.
Yeah, and then there's the sorrow associated with it.
Right.
And if you
So-
think about it,
so they all-
sorry to jump in
Okay.
here again, but Petrichor, as a trans woman, will not be able to, unless there's a different kind of physiology on their planet,
Right.
she will not be able
best
to
of our knowledge.
carry and give birth to
Yeah.
a child.
The best of
And
our
so that's
knowledge.
kind of
Yeah.
a big deal too.
Reef genetic males don't seem to have children. They don't carry children themselves. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know about that, about that 100%, but that could be a part of it also. Be
Sure.
as I know that there are women who, for whatever reason, can have children, who definitely revere the mothers in their lives more.
Right, right. So I saw that. Like I said, I thought that was funny. Really, he was giving her the ring because it's a translator. You know, in case somebody comes along and they can discuss. And she's like, "Ha, discuss!" And she's hefting a big old sword because she's all about the fight too. That's the other thing.
Right.
She's all
like,
about.
oh, they
She's
can
all about
talk
kicking
about-
ass and whatnot. But anyway, so the
She's a
family
great
family
character.
takes off to go and see their abortion kind of thing and whatnot. And she's standing outside and she's performing some magic ritual. She cuts her arm and drips some blood and go, "God, I've never asked you of anything, you know, but if I could get something right now, please give me somebody I can fuck," you know. And as soon as she says that, it's like the heavens open and it pours, drowns her fire, and she's like, "Oh, Petra, you're going to die an old hag that doesn't get any." And I just thought it was funny. I just, like I said,
thing is, yeah.
you know, I just thought it was funny. And maybe that speaks volumes of me.
Is it
The fact is that
abortion haters that are tracking her and realizing
Yes.
that she has a bunch of magic.
yeah, they've seen her. What's
Yeah.
that wingy doing? Yeah.
Yeah, here on exactly.
Yeah.
So
It's a double whammy. But it looks like the son,
yeah,
he might be.
because they're kind of an interesting family.
She's a centaur. Mom is a full-on centaur. You know, horse bottom, human top. Dad is human, rides a horse, and the son has a whole horse body and like a skulled
Yes,
horse
a
head,
skeletal
and
horse
his human body pops out where the saddle would be at on the back of the neck.
Yes. So he is a being also progeny of
Right.
two separate kind of races.
Right.
He seems more curious about her
Yeah.
than
So
anything
here's
else.
my whole forecast of how this is all going to play out because of the way this book is, because of the formula that this book has.
Do you think there's gonna
Mom and dad lose this fight, and Petra's wish comes true.
Yes, in ways that them.
It's gonna.
I'm sure Fiona
it's
can't
going.
wait to draw.
It's going to push the whole boundary of, you know, is this animalism? Is this what is
Yeah.
this? So that'll be.
Should be interesting.
Yeah. This, like I said, that's what was my thought on that as far
Yeah, me
as
too.
as far as that goes.
Because he really looks hesitant about the whole taking, you know, potentially doing some harm to her.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
He's not into just wiping people out for the sake of wiping them out. I mean, he wasn't going to wipe out those other people until they
Right,
drew
the
on
couple.
him first. Trying to think. There was something else about it I was missing, and I'm thumbing through it now, and I can't remember it, so it must not have been too important to whatever the heck I thought it was. So, the very end.
Yeah,
That's
Lon
what it
has
was.
that dream.
Is it a dream? So this is the thing that freaked me out. So I thought it was just a dream. What?
I mean, I hope so. I hope.
I thought it was just a dream too. And then talking with Rez from Rez Reads,
Right.
she goes, "Is it that? Or while she was passed out, did she do some kooky magic and turn Hazel into a boy?"
That would be interesting.
That would be horrific. Since I don't think that's the case, and this is the only reason I don't think it's the case, because if she turned Hazel into a boy, she also completely wiped Hazel's mind, because at the end of it, you know, he's saying, because it's a boy, clearly it's a boy, going,
Right.
"No, I'm not Hazel. I'm your son." I mean, they say I'm not Hazel, so it would have been wiping their mind too. It wouldn't have been
Right,
just
'cause
turning,
it still would have been
just
Hazel.
gender. I'm your son, silly, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he says Hazel. The whole dream sequence going up to that is pretty hilarious too.
Yeah. It starts out like a really good dream.
We
and then
know
it turns
that
into a bad dream.
Alana is a brunette, is a natural brunette. We do know that now. Just saying.
In case anybody wondered.
Some of us did.
Okay, well, I'm happy for you that you know. Didn't you know in the birth scene?
I don't remember. That's a long time ago.
Seriously,
That
haven't
was
we seen Alana naked like a
that
lot
was
of
24
times?
issues. Not that part of her.
Okay.
And that was 24 issues ago. I don't remember that. That was too traumatic.
Okay.
At any rate, so that's it for our books. Anything else you want to say about that or any others? Okay. Okay.
All right.
So that's it. We'll be
Yeah.
back maybe next week.
Maybe in a week. We'll see.
Okay. Have a great one, everybody.
Bye.